What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Alright, so we are going to continue our coverage over X-Men comics as a way to get into the Fall of X. Matter of fact, we are beginning our coverage over the Fall of X, where we do pick up with the Hellfire Gala event 2023. See, after the first one, Marvel kept giving one of these every single year as a way to tell us what to expect in later comics coming down the road. And it seems like this is going to be the last one because in a couple months, we're gonna have a new relaunch of X-Men titles. Now, with that being said, like I said earlier, this sets up the entire Fall of X line for X-Men comics. Now, something else I do want to mention before we dive into today's video is that when it comes to the Hellfire Gala parties, they're really more the idea of the mutant race inviting select humans over to their party to kind of show off what the mutant race had accomplished. Like, think back to the first one. When it came to the first Hellfire Gala event, you had the X-Men show the world that they were able to take Mars and turn Mars into a planet where humans and mutants could live on, and that was a huge achievement. But also, when it comes to the Hellfire Gala event, we usually get the idea of who is going to be the new X-Men team, the new roster for the main X-Men team. And so that is the main purpose originally when it comes to the Hellfire Gala for the mutant race. And so getting into the opening pages of today's video, we actually pick up with the return of Kamala Khan. Now, this is really huge. And the reason why, because in the TV show on Disney Plus, we were left to believe at first that she was going to be an Inhuman, to only find out that she is a mutant. The problem was over in Marvel Comics, well, we were told many years ago that she was an Inhuman. But she died in a Spider-Man comic recently. And so that began the process of changing her entire origin to say, no, she's not just Inhuman, she's also a mutant. And this is the first ever in Marvel Comics, supposedly, that she is a mutant Inhuman hybrid. And so this was a special occasion for the X-Men, but I guess you could say also a special occasion for the Inhumans as well, even though most of them are not around anymore. But the thing is Marvel saying, hey guys, she's just like her Disney Plus counterpart, where she is a mutant. It's just over here in comics, she's half mutant, half Inhuman. But when she died in that Spider-Man comic, and because she is a mutant, it gave Charles Xavier the okay to go ahead and tell the Five to bring her back to life. Because remember, when it comes to the Five, they have the ability to make you a clone body and then download your mind into your new clone body. And so because she's a mutant, that gave her access to the resurrection protocols to bring her back to life. And she is surprised to find out that she is a mutant, but also the idea that she was brought back to life. Now, when it comes to the X-Men, they do have a plan for her. They kind of want to use her for a special kind of reason. And so they tell her, hey, listen, we brought you back to life. We want to use you, but you know what? I think it would be a good idea if you come to the Hellfire Gala event tonight. So are you down? And so we then dive into the actual party event. Now remember, when it comes to the Hellfire Gala event, again, it's really used as a way to show off the mutant achievements, but to also announce the new X-Men roster for the main X-Men team. Now, with that being said, Cyclops is automatically called away. And the reason why, because the alarms at the treehouse is going off. And remember, the treehouse is the base for the main X-Men team that's back in New York. And for some reason, the alarms are going off. And so he leaves. But he does tell Jean Grey, if he is not back in time, tell the entire party our news. Now, we also see that Juggernaut has arrived at the party as well, and we're left to believe the possibility that he might join the X-Men. Now, when it comes to Juggernaut, he's not a mutant, but he has close ties to a lot of different members, especially Charles Xavier. But in recent years, he has been a good guy. And so it's kind of like the X-Men saying, you know, because you have turned over a new leaf and you have been helping us a lot, maybe there is a possibility that you could be on the new X-Men team. This is great. And so then we jump over to Miss Marvel. Now, when it comes to Kamala, she wants to know what is her power? What is her mutant ability? Because if she's going to be a mutant, that means she has some kind of power. What is that power? But the problem is, though, no one knows. She runs over to Charles Xavier and he's like, dude, I have no idea what your powers are. And the reason why, because when you went through the Terrigen Mist to unlock your inhuman powers, it locked away your mutant powers. And so unfortunately, I have no idea what kind of powers you may have. Now we can help you try to figure out what those powers are, but again, I have no idea. Now, when it comes to Kamala Khan, she does run into Rasputin IV. Now, remember, she comes from an alternate timeline, the Sins of Sinister timeline. But she does tell Kamala Khan, like, hey, listen, so in my timeline, you were a big deal. Like, you were a great hero to Muslim people, Inhuman, mutants, and just humans as well. Like, you were so big for all 4 different groups. It was crazy and wild. Now, when it comes to Kamala Khan, she wants to make sure that no one at the party who is not a mutant not know that she is a mutant, that she is a secret mutant, because she has no idea what the X-Men are trying to use her for, but at the same time, how will other people react? Because right now, humans don't like mutants again. There's a lot of hatred towards the mutant race for a lot of different reasons. But then we also get reminded of the idea that when it comes to the Kingpin, he also lives on Krakoa as well. Now, the reason why, because he's married to Typhoid Mary, who is a mutant. And so even though this man is so corrupted, he technically has the right to be on the island because of his marriage to, of course, Typhoid Mary. Now, that is also the moment where the Avengers are all called away. And the reason why, because some kind of incident that's happening right now over in DC. And so you have almost every single member of the Avengers leave, even the ones who are reserved, like Rogue. And so she also leaves. Now that takes place in another storyline where, of course, it's going to be another building block for the fall of X. And that leads us into the big moment. And of course, the big moment is who is going to be on the new X-Men team? Because like I said, when it comes to the Hellfire Gala event, they are technically used as a way to kind of show off the mutant achievements, but to also show off the new roster for the main X-Men team. Now, let me say, at first, I did have some concerns about this team because when I looked at the roster, I was like, they're not really that powerful of a team, and I feel like it's one of those teams that got put together for some unknown reason. And so you did have Jean Grey say, here is your new X-Men team: Talon, Sync, Prodigy, Cannonball, Frenzy, Dazzler, Jubilee, and the Juggernaut. Now, there are some members of this team that are a great fit to be on the main X-Men team. Some like, not really. But either way, when you put all those characters together, can you honestly tell me that this would be a great X-Men team? For me personally, no. But the thing is, right after you have Jean Grey announce the X-Men team, Nimrod just comes straight through the roof and kills all of them except Juggernaut. And also Talon and Sync as well. But most of them are dead. He comes in like a bloody mess, says, bam, okay, cool. I killed off most of your new X-Men team. Now it's time for me to continue my attack. When it comes to Nimrod, you have to understand that this is literally the perfect Sentinel. He is able to overcome almost anything, really anything at all. His main goal is to adapt to literally any kind of mutant ability. And matter of fact, we see that because at first you do have some smaller mutants go at him, but then it comes time for the Omega level mutants. And remember, when it comes to Omega level mutants, we have no idea what are their actual limits. And so you have Iceman going first, and Iceman is an Omega level mutant. And you would think that maybe Iceman could be able to slow down Nimrod. And at first, you kind of do believe that, except it's Iceman being defeated by Nimrod to show Nimrod that, hey, listen, I'm not here to play around. I'm here to show you guys what I am truly all about. Now, the other one is Jean Grey, and it seems like Nimrod's main goal was to take out Iceman and to take out Jean Grey as well. But now he can focus on Jean Grey. Now, she throws Juggernaut at him to kind of see if maybe magic could possibly defeat Nimrod. But the attacks don't stop there, because let's not forget what happened over in Invisible Iron Man when it came to Tony Stark losing his company to Kelvin Falong, one of the many members of Orchid. And when he took over Stark Enterprises, he made a new kind of Sentinels. Stark Sentinels, and these right here are more powerful than your old school Sentinels, and so they're coming in hard. They are attacking the entire party, and unfortunately our heroes are just playing defense. They can't even play offense because they're getting attacked in all different kinds of directions. And we're not going to stop there, because we also see that Dr. Stasis and also the Omega Sentinel is able to access the gates of Krakoa. And remember, those gates were supposedly only be used by mutants unless you were a human that was, kind of loved on the island, and they can program your DNA into the actual system. But the problem is, though, Dr. Stasis is not a human that the mutant race actually likes. But on top of that, neither is Omega Sentinel. But they were able to access the gate. And once they do get inside, they show Charles Xavier what they have done. They have not just accessed the gates of Krakoa, they have also accessed the medicine of Krakoa as well. Because remember, when it came to the very beginning of Dawn of X, you had the mutant race offer the other countries the ability to live a tad bit longer if they take this medicine, to also be healthier than they were. Well, now, thanks to MODOK, the medicine has also been affected. You have many people getting sick. Some might want to kill themselves. Some might try to fight against each other. That's the point, to destroy everything that Krakoa has built since Dawn of X and Reign of X. And so the battle continues on. It's literally hot mess everywhere. The mutants are losing in all sides. And unfortunately, the mutants just can't catch a breath. As soon as they think they might be able to slow one part down, like Nimrod begins to defeat Juggernaut, where you have the humans who are taking the medicine at the party. They begin to go crazy or fight against each other. When it comes to the Stark Sentinels, they are attacking at all ends. Our heroes, unfortunately, cannot do anything at all until Jean Grey steps in. And when Jean Grey steps in, she says, "Stop. Everyone just stop right now." And literally, she uses her powers to control everyone's bodies, their minds, to make them all stop. And it looked like, okay, this can give the X-Men the chance to actually win. Maybe the X-Men will be able to defeat Orchid, defeat Nimrod, and everything should be okay. No. Because Moira McTaggart appears. And when she does appear, she comes right behind Jean Grey and stabs her. And let's not forget, when it comes to Moira McTaggart, originally she helped Charles Xavier and also Magneto build Krakoa. It was a huge retcon that she was a mutant. Now she's a human again. But her whole goal the entire time was to get rid of the mutant race. She believed the mutant race was a disease. And so that was her entire plan, to get rid of it. And so when she joined Orchid, she continued that plan. And it's all coming together. And she's just stabbed Jean Grey. But we have to jump back over to Cyclops, because remember, Cyclops went to the treehouse, and when he went over to the treehouse, he believed there was danger there. Well, that was a trap, and so now Cyclops is possibly dying. We kind of find out when it came to Jean Grey being stabbed by Moira McTaggart, it was because she put Blight's will on her blade. And remember, Blight's will comes from Otherworld, but it's kind of like a poison to the mutants, and so right now, Jean Grey is dying for sure. And so you have the rest of the characters who can still fight, try to fight, but unfortunately, you have Moira McTaggart tell Charles Xavier, tell them to stop. If you don't, I would tell MODOK to play his music to activate his disease that we have basically placed in your medicine, and people around the world who took your medicine will also die now. And so tell everyone to stop. Tell your X-Men to stop. And Charles does. He says he surrenders. And so you then have Dr. Stasis, who's right now, I guess, technically one of the many leaders of Orchid, tell Charles Xavier, this is what the mutant race is going to do. You are going to leave Krakoa. You are going to leave the Earth. We had access to all your gates right now, and those gates may lead over to different points of the Earth, but also different points of the universe. And so we had taken your gates and told them to lead into other parts of the universe where mutants are welcome. But you guys are no longer allowed to be on Earth. You guys are a cancer. So if we see one mutant come back to Earth, we'll kill a human. We see 2 mutants, we kill 5. We see 3 mutants, we kill 10. And it keeps going up and up and up. So here's your thing. Leave Earth now, protect the humans, and protect yourselves. But Charles, use your powers, if you have to tell every single mutant to leave. Here comes what could be the possible key for the X-Men to win. Firestar. You heard what I said, because what Jean Grey does next, she contacts Firestar to say, listen, I was able to access the mind of Dr. Stasis. With me doing that, I will make him believe that you were technically part of Orchid as well, that he had recruited you. That is how he learned everything about us, through you. Now, in reality, that is a lie, but for him, he'll believe that. Now, here's the thing. When word gets out that you were supposed reason why Krakoa had failed, shift the blame on Beast. Because let's not forget right now what's going on in Wolverine comics and X-Force comics. Beast had truly become a dark person in the world of X-Men comics. And so you could easily shift the blame over to him. But Firestar could be the reason why Orchid fails. Now you have all the mutants beginning to leave Krakoa, except a few. The ones who were trained by Charles Xavier to fight against his powers, to learn how to fight against psychic abilities who might try to control their minds. And so right now you have certain characters trying to resist his powers. And so those few mutants might get away, and it's going to lead into a new kind of X-Men team that is going to try to be a resistance against the forces of Orchid. Now, here's the thing, because when it comes to Krakoa, the party was not happening on the island. The party was happening on a different island. And so when it comes to Krakoa, it was saved by Mother Righteous. Now remember, Mother Righteous is a clone of Nathaniel Essex's wife, because he made 4 clones and she was one of the 4 clones, but the only one made after his wife. Either way, she comes in and says, boom, give me the island and I will take it somewhere else and put it somewhere safe. And so it seems like she's on the mutant side. Now, when it comes to the mutants who were able to fight against Charles Xavier's mind control, they're being forced out by other mutants who couldn't fight at all. And so now it seems like literally 90% of the mutants are most likely gone. Now, we jump back over to Jean Grey, making sure that Firestar knows what her mission is. That one, you have to hide. You cannot be out there, because if you are, if they find out you are a mutant, humans are going to die. They'll come after us possibly down the road. Your main goal is to try to figure out what we can do to dismantle Orchid. And once you are able to gather different pieces of information, give it over to the Resistance. It's time to say this right now. Every single mutant who is left on Earth who was able to fight against Charles Xavier's powers, they're now X-Men. It's up to you guys to be able to bring down Orchid. Now, guys, remember, Cyclops, we were left to believe that he is dead. We kind of find out he's being taken away by somebody. We have no idea who, but you do have Jean Grey saying goodbye to Cyclops. So now we know that he'll be on Earth trying to fight back against Orchid. So is Wolverine, the other man she loved. And also will stay on Earth as well to help out the other mutants fight against Orchid, to try to dismantle them. Then comes Destiny. Now remember, Destiny has the ability to see possible futures. A lot of times they don't happen. Sometimes they are for sure to happen. And sometimes she has to use things called nexus points, which are points in time that are for sure going to happen, as a way to guide her to see what could possibly happen in the future. But apparently she saw all of this coming, and she says, this is the only way for us to win. And so she begs Mystique to follow the rest of them out of the island, to go where they're going right now, to different parts of the universe, to leave Earth. Except Mystique does not want to go. She's fighting against Charles Xavier's mind control. But you have Mystique just jump off the edge, and we're left to believe that she's most likely dead. We already know that she is not, but again, it's another piece that could possibly be used to bring down Orchid. But doing pick up with another group of the X-Men characters who are about to go through a teleporter, except Emma Frost wakes them all up to come to find out they're not truly under the control of Charles Xavier, but they want to use a character known as Loudress as a way to teleport away somewhere safe, so that they'll be able to fight against their enemies. Now, when it comes to Loudress, we were technically told about her way back in, like, I want to say Reign of X possibly, that she was an ex-girlfriend or ex-lover of Sebastian Shaw, and she had to disappear because he was abusing her. And so Emma Frost helped her disappear by making her work for the Kingpin, but also making her fake her death. Either way, she has the ability to teleport. And so you do have everybody try to hold hands so that they will be able to teleport the heck out of there. Unfortunately, Charles Xavier doesn't make it with them. But on top of that, once they do teleport, they go back over to the old base of the Hellfire Club in the classic old days. It's kind of like Marvel saying, hey, we're going to bring back everything you loved when it came to the older X-Men comics, starting off with the Hellfire Club possibly. Now, with that being said, well, Loudress dies because she was shot right when she was able to teleport them all out of there. And so with her death, well, it seems like the X-Men are just going to lose more and more people left and right. Now, you do have the different members of Orchid kind of celebrate the idea that they were able to get rid of Krakoa. But you also have Dr. Stasis tell the other members that Firestar has been feeding them information the entire time. Now, we already know that's not true, but Jean Grey made them believe that, or made him believe that. And so now it's him saying, yeah, guys, this is how I was able to learn about Orchid, thanks to Firestar here. Now, the question is, what's going to happen to Charles Xavier? And Moira McTaggart, oh, she got plans for Charles. Now, getting back over to the group of characters who were with Emma Frost, she tells us that when it came to the Hellfire Club, there were underground tunnels. In those underground tunnels, there were more gates that could lead back to the island or possibly other points of the world or other parts of the universe. Emma Frost wants to do a surprise attack on the members of Orchid by using one of those gates to just sneak up on them and try to use her powers against them. But when they get to those gates, they're closed. They cannot access them at all. And we have to remember, when it came to Orchid, they told Charles, we were able to access everything about you guys. And that means the gates as well. And so now, no mutants can use those gates to get around on Earth or possibly to Arakko or other parts of the universe. But getting back over to Moira McTaggart, she's getting ready to torture, not really torture, she's getting ready to kill Charles Xavier. And he's all like, yeah, you know what? I'm ready for my death. And for some reason, Moira McTaggart's all like, you know, you're very brave for somebody that's about to die. Why? And the reason why? Because Charles knew that Rogue was there. And so you have Rogue grab Charles Xavier and they get away. Now, Rogue does tell Firestar, you are a traitor. Now again, she's not a traitor, but again, she has to make everyone believe that she is. But this leads us into really a huge moment. Really, everything was huge left and right, but this is another huge moment because you have Charles tell us that he told every single mutant to use the gates and go over to Arakko, of course, the second mutant nation on Mars. But apparently, he can no longer detect them. He feels like what happened was all those mutants were sent over to Arakko and most likely were killed off. They were sent to the meat grinders. They are all dead. And so you have Charles just fall to the ground. And he says, leave me here. Leave me here, but Rogue, go out there. Go out there right now and avenge our lost ones. Get revenge. Avenge for Krakoa. Now, the last couple pages of this book also tell us that when it comes to Kitty Pryde, remember, for the longest time, she could not access the gates of Krakoa. And we were technically not told why. But here's the thing, because since the gates were changed to not allow mutants to use the gates at all, well, now Kitty Pryde, for some reason, can use the gates, which means that now she has the ability to be that one member of the mutant race who can still use the Krakoan gates as a way to get around. But now the question is, will she become some kind of assassin to help out the X-Men? And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.